Dream Vision 7 Radio Network welcomes Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes, heard every Monday at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Using nearly 200 years of abundant and consistent afterlife evidence, quantum physics, consciousness research, and ancient writings, we seek to understand who and what we are, how reality works, the nature of God, and the meaning and purpose of our lives. Join Roberta weekly to better understand our one reality and gain insights into how we can make the most of the glorious eternal beings that we are.
Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm delighted that you could be with us today. You know, each of us wants to do what we can to make the world a better place. Isn't that true? One wonderful thing about my own work, which I'm doing out of love, is that so often I meet earnest people, sincere, wonderful people who have found something they can do to improve the lives of others, and they are doing it now with all their hearts. I love that, and I meet these people often. I want you to know more of them because, frankly, they serve as an inspiration to all of us. A few months ago, we hosted Vincent James, who is what I think of as an ambassador for music. He and his wife, Joann Pierdomenico, have been making music, teaching music, and advocating for music education for children as a whole mission of their lives for more than 30 years. Actually, music seems to be much more prominent in the greater reality we return to after death than it is here. So if you'd like to listen to Seek Reality to learn more about the afterlife, music is a legitimate afterlife topic for us to discuss, and we'll do some of that today. But what I love about this inspiring couple, Vincent and Joann, isn't so much the afterlife connection as it is their drive to increase the role of beautiful music in our lives right now. Vincent and Joann are the authors of 88 plus ways music can change your life. I guess you kept adding stories. There are more than 100 now, but I guess it started at 88. They're the founders of a nonprofit organization that called Keep Music Alive, and their stated mission is to promote the value of music in children's education, in therapy, and in advancing our happiness as a society. Boy, that's a big mission. They've launched 2 international music holidays called Teach Music Week and Kids Music Day, and they've partnered with hundreds of music schools in the U.S., Canada, and elsewhere to offer free lessons to new students, to hold events celebrating kids playing music, and just to make music part of everybody's life. Vincent's partner in work and in life is Joann Pierdomenico, and she is with us today. Welcome, Joann. I'm delighted that you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be a part of your show and to talk with you and actually learn more from you and as you are from me.
That's the beauty of this. I have learned so much from the people, really, that I have interviewed, and I've made friends of so many of them, and that it has the reason I do Seek Reality, everyone, I tell you I do it for you, but I actually do it mainly for me because it enriches my life so much to meet people like Joann and so many others. So there's a little secret told. Now, we're going to talk about the role of music in the afterlife, and I think, though, the most important thing to do is to just talk about music, period, because there's so much I don't know about it, and I'm sure other people don't either. And especially if you have children or if you're trying to enrich your own life, it's so important that you understand the role music can play. But first, let's talk about you. How did music become so essential to your life? I mean, as I was sort of reading through things and getting prepared, I was thinking, now, this is a chicken and egg thing. Did you first meet Vincent, or did you love music and that brought you to meet Vincent? How did that get started?
Wow. So I could do a whole hour on just how the beginning of this started.
Oh, dear. Well, if we could just get the Cliff Notes.
Yes. Okay. So for me, music started a very long time ago when I was a very little girl. And music, although I am not a musician, has always played an important part in my life. When I guess I was in like 4th grade, And our school district had a music education program, and I was invited to play, to learn to play an instrument. So I thought, oh my goodness. And I saw these violins and they were absolutely beautiful. And I thought, I want to play a violin. I want to play a violin. Yeah. So I took this case home. Now, I was always a small child. I was always the smallest one in the class. So this violin case was probably, more than half my height.
Wow.
And so I brought it home and I showed it to my mom and she said, okay. Now, which is very surprising because my mom didn't like anything that made noise. And if you ever heard a beginner with a violin, it's like,
yes, I took grandchildren to violin lessons. I know just what you mean.
Yeah. So I was just over the moon happy that I was able to start to learn to play the violin. Unfortunately, after a few weeks, my mom told me that I had to return the violin because I was disturbing the neighbors. We lived in a very small apartment building. And back then, people didn't have air conditioning and it was always windows open. And so I would do my, and apparently it didn't go over well with the neighbors. And my mom said, we really have to be considerate of our neighbors.
Oh, dear.
So I gave that up. And then when I was in middle school, I had the opportunity to participate in chorus, which I was so excited for. I got to do the winter concert and I absolutely loved it. I got to sing my heart out with all these amazing, beautiful holiday songs. But then after the concert ended, my mom told me that I wasn't going to be able to participate in the spring concert because we couldn't afford it. We were very poor growing up, and, transportation and nice clothing, for those types of events were things that we really couldn't afford. So I had to stop doing that. But what I will say is in middle school was when I really began a love for music. And that is because I had the most awesome music teacher. When I was in middle school, that's when I learned about the Beatles and, Sgt. Pepper's. Yeah, I never even heard of the Beatles until then. And, so that was the late 70s. And he was just an amazing teacher. Like, he taught us the coolest things about music with current music in addition to the traditional music. So we got the best of both worlds. His name was Mr. Poole, and I never told him how much I loved him as a teacher and how profound of a difference he made in me wanting to learn more about music while in school. And I wish I had, but I'm sure he got that from a lot of people because he was an amazing teacher. So fast forward, if I can, to 1990, I had the opportunity to go to a benefit where they were raising money for a local food bank, and there was going to be live performances there. And it turned out that a friend of mine that I was pen pals with in high school was going to be performing at that benefit. And I thought, oh my gosh, he used to send me tickets to go see him perform in New York, but I never made it up there. Oh. So it was just like, I was like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity for me to go meet my pen pal. Well, I went up there and I had an opportunity. I got to meet my pen pal, and that was the night that I met Vincent.
Oh, dear. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason, right?
It does. Oh, totally. Everyone, just parenthetically, when you look back at your life, you see so many things that seem coincidental. Our guides are always making sure that the person we have chosen for our life partner is going to be presented to us repeatedly. So if we miss that chance, believe me, they will make sure there are other chances. So isn't that wonderful? So was he seems to always have been deeply involved with music. He was then? Was he thinking about being an ambassador even then?
Not really, no, because his life was on a different path at that time. At the time, he was actually just releasing his own music, and so he was promoting his own music, and just before that was managing bands and things like that. So he actually, after we met, we became really good friends. We were friends for a while, and then we fell in love, of course. And then I started helping him, like with his music. We actually were part owners of a recording studio. He was the founder of the Philadelphia Songwriters Association here in Philly. So there was a lot of things that he was involved in, all having to do with music.
I have to just say it's cute to see them together, Vincent and Joann, because she really does that. She's always supporting him. I think you're the most supportive wife I have ever known. I just have to say that parenthetically. Aww. Now, we're almost at a break, and one of the things I want to do is I've been thinking about questions to ask you. When I talked to Vincent, I just didn't realize how much fun it was going to be to talk about music. But as I've been thinking about talking with you, I've got questions to ask you that I think are probably on other people's minds too, because you say music is important, right? It's important to our lives in many ways. Sure. And so it has to have like a genetic basis. It has to have all kinds of bases. And what I want to do is talk some about that. And I wish I could take call-ins, because I'm sure everybody else is saying, Roberta, ask this, Roberta, ask that. I just have a few questions that I'd like to ask you. One of the things I'd like to know is whether we are born with an instinct for music. Do you think that we are?
I think we all inherently have a gift. And I also think we all inherently have the ability to pull out things from ourselves that we didn't know that we had, including music, because you'll have people who, maybe as children never learned to play an instrument, but somewhere deep inside always wanted to learn how. And then, and then later in life, as an adult, whether they're in their 40s, their 60s, their 80s, they actually decide to take up an instrument. And I really feel like when a person takes up an instrument at whatever point in time in their life, that's because that's when it was right for them. Not maybe when they were a kid, not maybe when they were a teenager, but when the time was right, when we're most receptive to learning.
How would you define music? What is music? I mean, there's so many different kinds of music.
I think it depends on the person, really, because different styles of music, different genres of music appeal to different people for different reasons. Classical music is beautiful, right? And like I could listen to that, especially like if I'm, going through a rough time or I'm really stressed out, because it will calm me. But my favorite music really is pop and rock from the 80s. So I think we are drawn to the type of music that most interests us, because I feel like it benefits us in some shape, way, or form. Like I envy people who are really into classical music, because I think it's beautiful, but it's not exactly my thing. But I really envy people who truly see the beauty of what classical music is.
But even within classical music, I would just point out there are lots of kinds. I love true classical music that's very emotional. I mean, Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky. We used to be subscribers to the symphony when we lived in the Boston area. We would go to because it was always beautiful stuff. Then it started to be a lot of modern stuff, which to me sounded like, fingernails on a chalkboard, and we stopped subscribing. But I'm sure it was all classical music. It's just, and within rock, there are so many different kinds of music. I mean, my favorite music is the 60s doo-wop. I mean, I listen to it all the time. The Flamingos and Marvin Gaye and all of these people, to me, are the greatest musicians who ever lived. I don't care what anybody says.
They are amazing.
This is, we all have these very idiosyncratic tastes, and they're not always consistent either. They're the things maybe that, I don't know. For me, it's all the emotional music is what I love. I'm having trouble with modern music because it doesn't seem to have the same emotional level. But we do seem to have a music instinct. I really think that we do. I mean, people... Yes, we all have different tastes, but if music is sort of resonates at all, I think we all kind of can hear that. It's universal in a way that no language could possibly be universal. And I think that's part of what's good about it. But now, all right, if I have a child, because I tried with my own children to get them to play piano, then play violin, the only